Hello dear students, today we will continue our topic of yesterday's topic, that is sexual reproduction in plants. A new seed of the plant is formed when the male gamete present in a pollen grain unites with the female gamete present in the ovule, and it happens in two ways: pollination and fertilization. For the male, now we will discuss pollination. For the male gamete to be able to combine with the female gamete, it is necessary that first the pollen grains from the anther of stamen should be carried to the stigma of the carpel. The transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a stem to the stigma of a carpel is called pollination. Pollination takes place when pollen grains are carried from the anther to the stigma of the flower, and is done by insects like bees and butterflies. These carry these male sex to the female. Birds, wind, water, etc. Pollination occur in two ways. One is the self-pollination and second one is cross-pollination. When pollen grains from the anther of a flower are transferred to the stigma of the flower or any other part of the same plant, is called self-pollination. But when the pollen grains from the anther of a flower on one part of plant are transferred to the stigma, that is the female part of a flower, on another similar plant, it is called cross-pollination. It is called cross-pollination, and insects help in cross-pollination. When an insect sits on flower of a plant for sucking nectar, then the pollen grains from the anther of this flower stick to its body, and when this insect now sits on another flower of another similar plant, then the pollen grains sticking to its body are transferred to the stigma of this second flower. In this way, insects transfer pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the second flower. The second one is fertilization. After pollen grains fall on the stigma, the next step is fertilization, and it occurs when the male gamete present in pollen grain joins with the female gamete present in ovule. It bursts open and grow a pollen tube down through the style towards the female gamete in the ovary. A male gamete moves down the pollen tube. The pollen tube enters the ovule in the ovary. The tip of pollen tube bursts open and male gamete comes out from the pollen tube. In ovary, the male gamete of pollen combine with the nucleus of the female gamete or egg present in ovule to form a fertilized egg called a zygote. And we can see that fertilization takes place. Thank you. See you next class. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.